You are listening to the AI World Podcast, your trusted source for the latest innovations, insights, and trends in artificial intelligence, blockchain, fintech, and decentralized technologies. Each episode features expert interviews, engaging discussions, and in-depth analysis of how AI transforms industries worldwide. Stay ahead of the curve with the latest articles and exclusive reports from the AI World Journal, covering everything from emerging technologies to industry breakthroughs. For more news, global events, and access to AI World Society circle gatherings, visit us at aiworld.tv. Don't forget to subscribe to stay informed, stay connected, and be part of the AI revolution with AI World Lounge. Thank you for listening.
So usually when we sit down to record this, we're looking at what's happening, right here on the ground.
Right.
Maybe a new chip release, a policy change, the usual churn. But the report we're breaking down today, and this was published literally this morning, January 23, 2026, by the AI World Journal, it's forcing us to look up.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean metaphorically.
No, we are looking quite literally at the sky.
We're talking about the migration of data centers, the actual, physical backbone of the internet, into orbit. Now, I have to be honest with you right out of the gate.
Yep.
When I first saw the headline, Orbital AI Data Centers, my immediate reaction was, this is hype.
Sure.
This is the pitch deck for a startup that's going to run out of money in 6 months. It sounds like sci-fi.
It does sound like sci-fi, but I think if you just dismiss it as hype, you're missing the very real, very physical wall we are hitting down here on Earth. I mean, this isn't about, wouldn't it be cool to put servers in space? It's about, do we have a choice?
Okay, let's start there, because we've been hearing about the energy crisis in AI for a few years now. We know that training these frontier models uses a lot of juice.
A lot.
But are we really at the point where we have to leave the planet? That feels, it feels extreme.
It is extreme, but look at the numbers in the report. We aren't just talking about using a lot of electricity.
Right.
We are talking about local power grids in places like Northern Virginia, Ireland, Singapore. They're effectively capping out. They literally cannot build transmission lines fast enough.
I've seen that. Utility companies telling tech giants, get in line, we can hook you up in 2030.
Exactly. And it's not just the electrons, it's the water.
For cooling.
For cooling, to cool these massive clusters of H100s or the newer Blackwell chips, you're evaporating millions of gallons of water. You're competing with agriculture, with drinking water.
And the regulatory pushback is already happening.
It is. Cities are just saying no to new builds.
So the whole premise here is that Earth is basically full. We've flipped the vacancy sign on the power grid.
For the scale of AI we want to build next? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
If you want to train a model that's 100 times larger than GPT-4, you simply cannot plug it into the U.S. power grid without causing brownouts.
So you have two options.
Stop building bigger AI or find a new place to plug it in.
And the argument is that space is the ultimate outlet. But I have to push back on the economics here.
Of course.
Launching mass into orbit is expensive. I know we have Starship. I know launch costs have dropped. But it's still infinitely cheaper to pour concrete on the ground than to blast it into the exosphere. How does that math ever work out?
Yeah, that's the trillion-dollar question, right? And you're right. The CapEx, the upfront capital expenditure, is astronomical compared to a warehouse in Ohio.
Right.
But look at the OpEx, the operating expense. Once that data center is in orbit, what's your energy bill?
Zero.
It's zero. You have the sun, and unlike on Earth, where you have night cycles, clouds, atmospheric filtering,
You have constant, unfiltered sunlight.
it's 24/7 unlimited power. You don't even need batteries to store power for the night because there is no night if you pick the right orbit.
Okay, so you pay a massive premium up front to get the hardware up there, but then your electricity costs just flatline.
Right. Over a 5 or 10-year lifespan of a data center, that energy savings is massive. But there's a second economic driver that's even more interesting, and it has to do with the physics of cooling.
This is the part of the report I really wanted to dig into because it's so counterintuitive. We know space is cold,
Yep.
but it's also a vacuum.
Correct.
And my understanding of physics, and it is limited, is that heat doesn't transfer well in a vacuum. On Earth, we use fans to blow air over a hot chip, or we pump water. The heat moves into the air or the water.
Mm-hmm.
In space, there's nothing to move the heat into.
Yeah.
So wouldn't a supercomputer just melt itself in 5 minutes?
That is the cooling paradox. You're right. Space is an insulator, like a thermos. If you just put a server rack in orbit, it would cook itself. But the report details how they're solving this with what's called radiative cooling.
Okay, break that down for us.
So heat leaves an object in 3 ways. Conduction, touching something. Convection, air moving over it.
And radiation.
And radiation emitting light. In space, you only have radiation. Everything emits infrared light as it gets hot. So the engineering solution here is these massive deployable radiator panels.
Like wings.
Exactly like wings. Giant high emissivity surfaces that take the heat from the chips and just beam it out as infrared radiation into the deep sink of the cosmos, which is, 3 Kelvin?
So you're literally shining the heat away.
Yes. And here's the economic kicker. On Earth, cooling consumes about 40% of a data center's total energy budget.
Wow.
Plus the water infrastructure, the chillers, the pumps. In space, radiative cooling is passive. No pumps, no fans, no water.
So you eliminate the water bill, you eliminate the cooling power bill, and you eliminate the actual power generation bill.
Precisely. You are trading the high cost of a rocket launch for a decade of near-zero operating costs. And the report argues that with launch costs coming down, those lines on the graph are about to cross.
Okay, I'm starting to buy the economic argument, or at least I see the logic. But let's talk about utility.
Sure.
Because I'm imagining trying to use ChatGPT, and the signal has to go to space, get processed, and come back down. We all get annoyed when the internet lags for half a second. Isn't latency going to kill this?
Oh, it kills specific applications, absolutely.
Right.
You are not going to run high-frequency trading from orbit.
Right.
You aren't going to run competitive multiplayer gaming servers in orbit. The speed of light is fast, but that round trip adds latency.
So the fast Twitch stuff stays on Earth.
Exactly. Your Netflix, your Zoom calls, your consumer chatbots, that's all terrestrial or edge computing.
Right.
But the report draws a really important line between inference and training.
Right.
Training a model, the process of teaching the AI, takes months. It's a throughput problem, not a latency problem. It's just crunching petabytes of numbers.
You don't care if it takes 50 milliseconds to get the next job.
You don't care at all as long as the processors are running at 100% capacity.
So the heavy lifting goes upstairs.
Think of it as the deep thought layer. If you need to run a climate simulation for 6 months, or train GPT-6, or model protein folding for a new drug that goes to space,
So you upload the job.
the orbital cluster churns on it for weeks using free solar power, and then it beams the result back down.
It's basically offshore drilling, but off-planet.
That's a great analogy. It's a specialized industrial zone for the heaviest, hottest workloads.
Okay, let's look at the roadmap, because the report doesn't just say this will happen eventually. It lays out a pretty aggressive evolution over the next decade. And it starts, well, now.
It starts with what they call the sovereign tier. And this addresses your skepticism about cost. The first customers aren't startups.
They're governments.
They're governments.
Which makes sense. If you're the Pentagon, you don't care as much about the ROI, you care about security.
Security and independence. I mean, if you look at the geopolitical tension right now, everyone is worried about supply chains.
Sure.
If your data center is in a foreign country or even on a domestic grid that can be hacked or sabotaged, that's a huge vulnerability.
But a satellite,
Yeah.
we've seen anti-satellite tests. Is a server in space actually safer?
It's safer from physical intrusion.
Yeah.
You can't drive a truck bomb into it.
Good point.
You can't cut the fiber optic cable with a backhoe. And for defense workloads, being air-gapped physically by 400 miles of vacuum is a pretty good security feature.
True. So the early phase is military and government pods, not giant data centers, but secure, hardened nodes.
Right, and hardened is a key word there. We should probably explain that because you can't just take a standard NVIDIA chip and throw it into orbit.
Cosmic rays, right?
Yeah. The atmosphere protects us from a lot of radiation. Up there, it's a shooting gallery. High-energy particles just smash into silicon.
And a bit flip on your laptop might crash an app.
But in a billion-dollar training run, a bit flip could corrupt the entire...
The future of artificial intelligence is unfolding, and it's happening at AI World Week, the flagship global event for innovation, collaboration, and transformation. This flagship global AI event is designed to connect visionary leaders, trailblazing entrepreneurs, and influential thinkers to explore the endless possibilities of AI. Experience groundbreaking technology that redefines industries and inspires progress. Join thought-provoking discussions on ethical AI, digital equity, and the transformative role of technology in our world. build meaningful connections that catalyze innovation and drive impact. AI World Week is powered by AI World Society, a global movement dedicated to advancing AI responsibly and ensuring it serves humanity. Together, we're shaping a smarter, more inclusive, and equitable future. Continue your journey beyond the event with the AI World Journal, offering expert insights, in-depth analysis, and the latest trends shaping the AI landscape. This is your opportunity to lead, to innovate, and to transform the world with AI. AI World Week. We invite you to join us and embrace the AI revolution.
Entire model.
So the hardware itself has to be different.
It has to be radiation hardened. You need error correction code memory everywhere. You need redundancy. And sometimes you even need older, larger process nodes that are less sensitive.
So you're trading some speed for durability.
Exactly. That's an engineering bottleneck right now.
So we have these government pods going up in the next year or two. But the report suggests that by the late 2020s, this shifts to commercial autonomy. And this is where the no humans rule comes in.
This is the part that fascinates me. On Earth, if a server rack goes down, you send a technician with a cart to swap the blade.
You send Dave.
You send Dave. In orbit, there is no technician. There is no Dave.
So if the hard drive fails, it just stays failed.
It stays failed.
Yeah.
So the architecture has to change. The report talks about containerized autonomy. These systems have to be self-healing.
Okay.
If a node fails, the software automatically routes around it. If a physical breaker needs resetting, you need robotics.
Robots.
On-orbit servicing. Little bots that can crawl over the structure and swap modules. But primarily, it's just software redundancy. You launch 20% more hardware than you need, knowing that parts of it will die over time.
So it's a war of attrition.
War of attrition against the environment, yeah.
That brings up such a weird mental image.
Yeah.
A massive silent computer floating in the dark, slowly dying piece by piece while it thinks.
That's actually a very poetic and accurate way to put it. And it leads to the shift in how we manage these things. The report suggests that by 2030, humans won't be managing the workloads anymore. AI schedulers will.
Why? Just because it's too complex.
Because of the orbital dynamics. Imagine you have a constellation of data centers. Some are in direct sunlight, some are passing into the shadow of the Earth, some are over a ground station, some aren't.
Right.
An AI scheduler needs to move the thought, the processing job, from satellite to satellite, chasing the sun.
Oh, chasing the sun. So the data is migrating constantly just to stay powered.
Exactly. It's a follow the energy model. No human can coordinate that in real time. The infrastructure manages itself. We just submit the query and wait for the answer.
This sounds incredibly efficient, but also, I don't know, it feels like we're losing grip on the reins a bit.
Well, that brings us to the geopolitical section of the report.
Yeah. By the early 2030s, they predict that orbital slots will become the new oil fields.
It's inevitable. There are only so many useful orbits. Low Earth orbit is already crowded. If you want a specific sun-synchronous orbit that gives you maximum power, that is a finite resource.
So instead of nations fighting over territory on a map, they're fighting over altitudes and inclinations.
And we're already seeing the precursors to this with satellite internet. But when those satellites are housing the National AI Reserve or the banking system's core ledger, the stakes get much, much higher. The report uses the term compute embargo.
What does that even look like?
Imagine a sanction where, instead of cutting off oil, a nation uses its space assets to jam or block another nation's access to their orbital compute.
Or they just deny them the launch slots to get the hardware up there in the first place.
Exactly. Digital sovereignty becomes orbital sovereignty.
And this is where the inequality gap could just explode. If the premier tier of AI, the smartest, fastest models, lives in space, then only the nations or corporations with heavy lift launch capabilities get access to it.
That's the risk.
So if you don't have a space program, you're stuck with the slow, energy-constrained AI on Earth.
That's the risk, a two-tiered intelligence economy.
There's a concept in the final section of the report that really tripped me up. Hybrid cognition.
Yeah?
It sounds like a buzzword, but the explanation was wild.
It's the idea that a single AI model won't exist in one place. We're used to thinking of an AI as a file on a server, but in this future, the AI is a distributed organism.
How so?
So the sensory cortex, the eyes and ears, are on Earth, on our phones and our cars, but the prefrontal cortex, the deep reasoning, the long-term planning, that's in orbit.
So when I ask a complex question, my phone handles the easy part. realizes it's out of its depth, and then just beams the hard part to space.
Instantly. And because of the laser links between satellites, optical intersatellite links, that orbital brain is massive. It's not just one satellite. It's a mesh of thousands of computers, all acting as one supercomputer.
And this allows for what they call persistent agents.
Right. Most AI today is transactional. You ask, it answers, it goes dormant.
Yep.
A persistent agent in orbit with unlimited solar power can just keep thinking. It can run a simulation for a year. It can monitor the global economy 24/7, tweaking variables, learning continuously without ever needing to sleep or save power.
That's the part that feels like a species-level shift. We're creating entities that operate on a time scale and an energy scale that we can't match down here.
And they're operating in an environment we can't visit. I mean, we can visit, but we can't live there. We are building the brain of our civilization in a place where we physically cannot survive.
That's a sobering thought. It brings up the question of control. If the hardware is self-repairing, the software is self-scheduling, and the power source is the sun, can you even turn it off?
I mean, theoretically, you can jam the signal, you can shoot it down, which creates a debris field that destroys everything else, so that's basically mutually assured destruction.
Those don't know.
But in terms of just pulling the plug, no, there is no plug.
It's fully autonomous infrastructure.
It pushes the definition of autonomous to the absolute literal limit.
I want to circle back to the reality check before we close out. We've painted this picture of inevitable progress. But what breaks this? What makes this report look foolish in 10 years?
A few things. First, fusion.
Fusion power on Earth.
If we crack commercial fusion in the next 5 years, unlimited, clean energy on the ground, the pressure to go to space just plummets. Why launch a rocket if you have a mini sun in the basement?
That's a good point. The water for cooling would still be an issue, right?
It would, but you could probably solve that with desalination if energy is essentially free. Fusion changes the entire math.
Okay, what else?
The second failure mode is the launch economics stalling. If Starship or the other heavy lifters don't hit their cost targets, if the capex remains too high.
If it costs $10,000 a pound instead of $100 a pound, nobody's launching a server farm.
Exactly. And the third is the Kessler syndrome space debris.
Right.
If we crowd the orbits too fast and have a collision, we could create a debris field that makes LEO unusable for centuries. Then we're locked on Earth, regardless of what we want.
So it's a race between launch innovation, terrestrial energy breakthroughs, and responsible space management.
That's the board we're playing on.
It's funny, we started this episode talking about data centers, the most boring industrial boxes imaginable, and we ended up talking about the future of human intelligence and orbital geopolitics.
That's the nature of AI right now, though. Infrastructure is strategy.
So, to you listening, the next time you see a rocket launch, don't just think about Mars colonies or satellites taking pictures. Think about it as a truck carrying the next generation of our digital brain.
And think about who owns that truck.
That is the final thought right there. Thanks for diving in with us. I think I'm going to go look up at the sky and try not to get paranoid about the servers floating over my house.
Let's wave. They might be watching.
We'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.